The shuttle doors hissed open, and Captain Elias Thorne emerged into the bright light of Zorth Prime's twin suns. The Galactic Defense Academy sprawled before him, a complex of crystalline structures that seemed to grow from the ground like living entities. The air was crisp, laced with the aroma of blooming nightshade vines and the faint tang of energy shields. Thorne, a rugged human in his early 40s, with a jaw set like granite and eyes that had seen too much death, adjusted the collar of his dress uniform. Scars crisscrossed his hands, souvenirs from boarding actions against Hive ships. The invitation had been unexpected. Delivered by a diplomatic courier drone to his post on the frontier colony of Terra Nova, it requested his presence for a guest lecture on human military tactics. Your experience in asymmetric warfare will be invaluable to our cadets, Dean Vexera had written. Thorne had accepted, though he wondered why they wanted a Marine like him instead of some polished strategist from Earth Command. What he didn't know was that the Interstellar War Department had other plans. Admiral Krix, a Vornak with a body of writhing tentacles and a mind for machinations, saw this as an opportunity to test a human's worth. Live fire evaluation, he called it in classified briefs. See if they break under pressure. A welcoming party awaited. Professor Lyra, a graceful humanoid from the Luminar worlds, her skin glowing with bioluminescence, extended a hand. Captain Thorne, we are delighted. Beside her, cadets. Click, chittering nervously. Sarek, hissing softly. Mistral, swirling. Pleasure's mine, Thorne replied, shaking hands carefully. They walked through gardens where floating orbs provided shade, discussing the Academy's curriculum. We train in all forms of combat, Lyra explained. But human methods are unique. Unique is one way to put it, Thorne said. Desperate is another. His quarters were a haven of luxury. Soft lighting, a view of rolling hills, a bed that molded to his form. He unpacked, placing his pistol on the table, checking its charge. The data pad held his lecture notes, slides on guerrilla tactics, case studies from Earth's history and recent galactic conflicts. In the shadows of the War Department headquarters, Krix monitored via hidden cams. He seemed composed. Start with the mind games. The auditorium was packed. Dean Vexera's feathers ruffled as he introduced Thorne, a warrior from the human frontiers. Thorne began. Asymmetric warfare is when the little guy punches above his weight. On Earth, we have stories like David and Goliath. He engaged the audience, answering questions. How do you deal with superior tech? A cadet asked. Steal it, sabotage it, or avoid it, Thorne said. Glitches. Holo showing sensitive data. Then the hum, causing unease. Then the tack. Drones swarmed. Thorne took charge, directing cadets, destroying threats. Post-incident, he confronted the assassin, uncovering the plot. In the days following, Thorne extended his stay, running workshops, teaching hand-to-hand strategy games. Cadets bonded with him. Click shared stories of his highest defeats. Thorne left with alliances forged, and the War Department wary of human grit. Word count approximation, 1,500. In practice, I'd count exactly, but for this, it's the idea. The shuttle descended through the swirling clouds of Zorth Prime, its engines humming a low protest against the planet's dense atmosphere. Captain Elias Thorne gripped the armrest, his callous fingers drumming a silent rhythm. At 42, he was no stranger to alien worlds, but this one felt different. The Galactic Defense Academy wasn't a battlefield. It was a place of learning, where young beings from across the stars prepared for wars they hoped never to fight. Yet here he was, a human Marine invited to give a guest lecture on asymmetric warfare. The invite had come from Dean Vexera herself, praising his unique perspective from the front lines against the hive swarms. Thorne had accepted, figuring it was a break from the grind. What he didn't know was that the Interstellar War Department had repurposed the event. Admiral Krix, a hulking Vornak with tentacles that could crush steel, called it Operation Insight, a live-fire test to probe human vulnerabilities. Thorne stepped out onto the landing pad, the air thick with the scent of ozone and blooming xenoflora. His dress uniform itched, a stark contrast to the powered armor he usually wore. A delegation awaited. Professor Lyra, her iridescent skin shifting colors like a living aurora. Click. An insectoid cadet whose mandibles clicked in nervous anticipation. Sarek, a reptilian soar with scales that rasped as he shifted weight. And Mistral, a gaseous nebula clan being who swirled gently in the breeze. Captain Thorne, Lyra said, her voice melodic through the translator. Welcome to the Academy. Your insights will inspire our cadets. Thorne nodded, shaking her hand. Cool and firm. Professor, happy to share what I can, though I'm better at doing than talking. They escorted him through the Academy's sprawling campus, past towering crystal spires that housed lecture halls and simulation chambers. Cadets sparred in open arenas, energy blades clashing with sparks. Drones buzz overhead, recording every move for analysis. Thorne's quarters were a dome-shaped suite overlooking the training grounds, equipped with a replicator that churned out a passable approximation of coffee. He unpacked his kit, a plasma pistol, a datapad loaded with declassified battle vids, and a few personal mementos, a faded photo of his squad, half of whom were gone now. As Thorne rehearsed his lecture, Admiral Krix observed from a secure bunker on Vorn Prime. Screens flickered with feeds from hidden cams. The human arrives unchallenged, Krix gurgled, his tentacles coiling. Initiate Phase 1, psychological strain. Let us see if their fragile minds unravel. The next morning, the auditorium was filled to capacity. Hundreds of cadets from dozens of species sat in tiered seats carved from luminous rock. Dean Vexera, an avian with feathers like polished obsidian, took the podium first. Today, we host Captain Thorne, a human who has turned the tide in countless engagements. Listen and learn the art of the unexpected. Thorne stepped up, activating his holoprojector. A 3D map of the Battle of Delta Eridani materialized, showing human forces outmaneuvering a swarm fleet. Good morning, he began, his voice steady and gruff. Humans aren't the biggest or the toughest in the galaxy. We don't have natural armor like the swords or psychic shields like the Luminars, but we've mastered fighting when the deck is stacked against us. Asymmetric warfare is about leverage, turning your enemy's strength into weakness. He dove into examples. Ancient Earth history. The Spartans at Thermopylae, holding a narrow pass against hordes with discipline and terrain. Modern galactic ops. His own unit using hit-and-run tactics against AI drones, planting EMP mines in asteroid fields to disrupt their networks. Cadets leaned forward, fascinated. Click raised a claw. Captain, how do humans endure pain? Your bodies lack regeneration. Thorne smiled faintly. Adrenaline, willpower. You push through because the alternative is death. In the jungles of Verdun 4, I saw a Marine lose an arm and still take down 3 swarm queens with a sidearm. As he spoke, subtle disruptions began. The holoprojector glitched, flashing classified human fleet positions for a split second before correcting. Thorne frowned but continued. Then a low-frequency hum filled the air, inaudible to him, but causing migraines among sensitive species. Mistral's form flickered, destabilizing. Cadets shifted uncomfortably, whispers rippling through the crowd. In the bunker, Krix's eyes gleamed. He remains composed. Proceed to Phase 2, simulated assault. Mid-sentence, Thorne describing guerrilla traps in the Vietnam analog of Earth's past. Alarms blared. Red lights pulsed. Perimeter breach. Hostile forces inbound. The announcement was synthetic, but the panic it sparked was real. Holographic drones materialized from emitters in the ceiling, buzzing like angry insects. They fired stun bolts that crackled with energy, singeing fur and scales where they hit. The auditorium erupted. Cadets screamed, scrambling for cover. A sword cadet roared, smashing a drone with his tail. Thorne's training kicked in instantly. He vaulted over the podium, drawing his pistol. This isn't a drill. Form defensive lines. Use the seats as barriers. Professor Lyra ducked behind him. Captain, the systems must be malfunctioning. Malfunctions don't shoot back. Thorne snapped, blasting a drone out of the air. The simulation was augmented with low-yield projectiles, enough to bruise or stun, but capable of escalation if Krix willed it. Thorne scanned the room, drones targeting clusters of cadets, herding them like prey. Listen up, he shouted. Swords, hold the front. Your scales can take hits. Nebula beings phase through and disrupt their formations. Insectoids climb the walls and web them down. Click hesitated, mandibles chattering, then scurried up the crystalline walls, extruding sticky threads that ensnared 2 drones. Sarek charged, his claws rending metal. Mistral flowed like smoke, short-circuiting electronics with ionized bursts. Thorne moved with precision, his shots economical. A drone dive bombed him. He rolled, firing upward, exploding in a shower of sparks. Good work, team. Keep pushing. The assault intensified. A larger construct appeared, a virtual Vornak warrior, tentacles whipping, energy blades glowing. It zeroed on Thorne. Human weakling, submit to the test. Thorne dodged a slash that cleaved the podium in half. Test? This your idea of hospitality. He countered with a burst from his pistol, but shields deflected it. Cadets rallied. Sarek tackled the warrior from behind. Click webbed its limbs. Thorne exploited the opening, jamming his EMP grenade into a joint. The construct shuddered and deactivated. The alarm ceased. Holos faded. The room fell silent, save for heavy breathing and groans. Dean Vexera burst in, wings flapping in agitation. What madness was this? Thorne holstered his weapon, wiping sweat from his brow. Ask your War Department. That felt too real for a glitch. Word spread like wildfire. Cadets hailed Thorne as a hero, clustering around him in the aftermath. But the test wasn't over. That night, in his quarters, Thorne reviewed footage on his datapad. A shadow stirred, a cloaked assassin from the Shadow clans, feline grace silent as death, sent by Krix to push the live fire to its literal extreme. Thorne feigned sleep, senses alert from years of ambushes. As the assassin lunged a vibro dagger, he countered, twisting the arm and slamming the intruder against the wall. Who sent you? The feline hissed, eyes glowing. Admiral Krix. To evaluate your end. Thorne bound him with restraints from his kit. Evaluation complete. I win. The incident triggered a diplomatic storm. Dean Vexera confronted the War Department, exposing Operation Insight as unauthorized. Admiral Krix faced emotion, his tentacles metaphorically tied. High Command commended Thorne, but he stayed longer by request, turning the lecture into workshops. In the training grounds, he taught hand-to-hand, strike vital points, eyes, joints. Humans aren't strong, but we're quick. Cadets practiced. Click adapting his webs for traps, Mistral learning to mimic human feints. Evenings brought stories around holographic fires. Sarek shared sordid legends of endless hunts. Thor recounted the fall of New Eden, where Marines held a colony against odds with nothing but grit. Bonds formed, bridging species divides. As Thorne boarded the shuttle home, cadets saluted. You taught us more than tactics, Lyra said. You showed us heart. Thorne grinned. Heart wins wars. Remember that. In the stars, the Academy had invited a lecturer. The War Department got schooled in human resolve, and the galaxy felt a little less divided.